시청자 여러분, 안녕하세요. 세상을 빛나게 만드는, 우리의 마음을 따뜻하게 만드는 활동가분들 알리고 비영리 단체, 봉사단체 등 찾아서 인터뷰하는 새빛당 시작하겠습니다. 오늘도 옆에 성통만사에서 현재 인턴 생활하고 있는 친구를 모셔봤는데요. 클라라입니다. Hi!
Hello.
Can you introduce yourself first?
Yes. My name is Clara, and my Korean name is Tabin,
다빈? 다빈, okay.
and I'm from Sweden, and I'm 26 years old.
Yeah, okay. So you're from Sweden, and you really look Asian.
Yes. Yeah, I was actually born in Seoul, and I was adopted to Sweden when I was 6 months old. So my ethnicity is Korean, but I was raised in Sweden and have Swedish parents.
Okay. So how long have you been in Korea right now?
Right now it's been almost 2 months, I think, but I've been in Korea before, and I think about like a little over a year altogether.
So I want to ask you some personal questions first. Is that okay?
Yes.
Yeah. So adoption from Korea to Sweden.
Yes.
Right? When did you find out your roots were Korea?
I think I've always known it because, as you said, I look Asian.
Yeah.
So I look different than my parents. So they've always been open with me about the fact that I am Korean and I was born here. So I always knew that I was born in Korea, but I didn't really know much about Korea. But just the fact that I was adopted and from Korea I've always known. I think.
Yeah, but there are like many countries in Asia.
Yeah.
So did your parents actually tell you
Yes.
that you're from Korea?
Yeah,
And
They did.
oh, really?
Yes,
Okay.
like we always had, on my birthdays, we always had the Swedish flag and the Korean flag and just little stuff like that. So it's, even though they didn't really know much about Korea or Korean culture, I've always known that it's Korea, specifically Korea that I'm from.
Oh, okay. So didn't that make you a little confused or like did you have any difficulties with your identity or something?
Yeah, I did. I was actually I had difficulties, I guess, accepting the fact that I'm Korean for a long while, and struggled with being both Swedish and Korean. And when I first started to learn more about Korea and also learn the language, I struggled with being, I guess, accepted as a Korean. But yeah, I think now that I'm older, it's definitely been a journey about my identity, but I think I've accepted the fact that I'm both Swedish and Korean, but maybe not in the way that's the most common. Yeah.
Because I've interviewed some people who are both French and Korean or both Japanese and Korean, and they talk about this identity thing.
Yeah.
And like some would say that I'm both, some would say I'm neither. So yeah, I think that's everyone's struggling thing.
Yeah, I think it's very common for both adoptees, but also if your parents maybe move to another country.
Yeah, or they have the different countries.
Yeah, exactly. I would probably say that I'm both, but it's definitely been a journey to be able to say that and be comfortable with that.
Do you have any brothers or sisters?
Yes, I actually have one older brother who is also adopted from Korea.
Yeah.
And I have a younger brother who is my parents' biological child. Yeah, I have 2 siblings.
So maybe that wasn't very difficult to you because you had an older Asian brother.
Sorry,
Like, did you talk about the adoption
Not
with
really,
your brother?
actually. Like we are both from here and we're both adopted, but we didn't really talk much about our experience or anything like that. Actually, I think I've talked about those things more with friends than my brother.
How about your school life? How was it? Like in high school?
Yeah, I'm from a very small. Oh no, I'm from a small town, but I'm also from a village outside that town. So it was not very diverse. I was one of the only Asian kids.
Oh my God, yeah. How is that?
It was very difficult at times, especially up until high school, because I was actually objected to a lot of racism growing up. Even when I didn't really, like when I was little, I didn't really understand it. But I've realized, like as an adult, that it was actually racism. And it was definitely difficult at times.
Because when you're in teenage, you want to be special and normal at the same time. And it would be hard for being just the Asian kid in the schools.
Yeah. I think also because I didn't really know anything about Korea, I couldn't be proud of the fact that I'm Korean.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I guess for some people, if they can't take pride in that difference, it may be a little easier. But since I didn't really know anything about Korea and didn't feel comfortable identifying as a Korean because I didn't know anything, it was extra difficult, I think.
Yeah, I understand. So when did you actually get interested in Korean culture? When did you start to study about Korea?
I think it was when I was 16, 17. So end of
in high school?
Yeah, just end of high school. It was probably when Korean pop culture started to become more accessible and popular.
It's always the K-pop.
Yeah, honestly, it was definitely through music and TV shows and makeup and stuff like that. But I know that I got interested in it because it's my background. But that was like an accessible way to kind of ease into it. But it went from 0 to 100 very quick, actually, because there was so much to learn and so much to consume, I guess, with all the pop culture. And I also kind of quickly, after I became interested in Korea, I knew that I wanted to learn the language, or at least try to learn the language a little bit, because it felt like an important step in both my identity process, but also to like understand Korea more.
So was it hard or was it easy?
It was very hard. I've never been interested in languages, actually. I never thought I would voluntarily study another language. So it was very difficult, but it was
so like in Sweden, you don't learn second or third languages, French or anything?
Typically, you can choose between French, Spanish, or German. And I studied Spanish, but I did it because I had to, not because I wanted to.
Okay.
Yeah, but Korean I did just because I wanted to, obviously. So it was very hard. It's very different from Swedish.
What was the most difficult thing? The pronunciation or the grammar?
Probably the grammar, and also like honorifics, different ways to talk to different people, like depending on
like the older
status.
or younger things like that.
And also the pronunciation, of course, was difficult.
Why don't you speak Korean for our Bena TV viewers? Please.
Actually, I was gonna ask you about that at the end of the interview, but
okay.
You can just say hi.
네, 안녕하세요. 저는
담비?
네, 송다빈이라고 하고.
다빈?
네. 네, 아직 어려워요.
So, your Korean name, who gave your Korean name? 다빈.
A social worker at the adoption agency that I got adopted through, which is quite common, I think. Sometimes your biological parents actually give you the name, but I think usually it's a social worker.
So, do you have a meaning in that name, 다빈?
Yes, I actually have the Hanja tattooed on me. Yeah, it's precious, like a pearl, something like
precious
that.
pearl.
Yeah,
okay. So you got interested in Korea.
Yeah.
You are studying Korean language.
Yeah.
What was the most hard word to pronounce at the first time?
Oh.
Do you really like learn at the first time? Do you really learn 안녕하세요 first?
Yes, you do.
That is so cute. Okay.
Yeah.
What was the hardest word to pronounce?
I don't really know. I think I had a really hard time with the double,
B,
double B and double like
S.
bang and
Yeah.
like those words where with the double characters,
Yeah.
and I guess just longer words were also hard.
When did you first visit Korea?
It was in 2016, and it was because I studied at the Korean language school. So I studied a little bit in Sweden, but then I realized it's probably better to study here. So I came, the first time I came back was for studying,
Korean.
and I was here for half a year.
Oh, so you went to the university
Korean
language
dance.
school?
Yeah, like the Oaktam.
어학당.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. You went to 어학당?
Yeah, at the Yonsei
Yonsei
University.
어학당.
Yonsei 어학당. That's famous. That.
Yeah.
Okay. What did your parents say when you said you want to go to Korea, learn about the language? And
They were very supportive. I think they've always been very supportive. Even though I wasn't really interested when I was a child, they were very accepting of the fact that I became very interested in my late teens. And they supported me studying Korean in Sweden, and they also supported me
In
coming
Korea.
here. They were worried, of course, like
Yeah,
me
of
moving
course.
away to another country, but they were excited for me to come here and do this whole journey. They probably realized that it was important for me.
So is your brother also interested in
No.
Korea? No.
We are very.
He's like 100% Sweden?
Yes, I would say. He is interested in some ways, but not to the extent of like wanting to learn the language or wanting
What my
to live
roots
here.
are, like stuff?
Yeah. So some things, I guess, but it's not. It's pretty different situation for me.
Okay. So it can be very different for the same
Yeah.
adoptees
Yeah.
too. Some study about their roots, some don't. They just live their lives.
Yeah, and sometimes maybe they become interested when they're like in their 40s.
Oh,
Or,
yeah, that
like-
can be possible.
Yeah, so it may happen later in life or maybe not happen at all. It's-
Yeah, and that's
case to
okay,
case,
either
yeah.
or not, right?
Yeah.
You first came to Korea, you go to Yonsei
Yeah.
어학당, which I've never been to. Yonsei. How was your first life in Korea?
It was definitely a culture shock in the beginning,
Yeah.
especially since I'm also not from a big city in Sweden.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely had to get adjusted in the beginning. Also, I think the fact that I looked Korean but I couldn't communicate was very difficult for me because I felt almost ashamed
Mm-hmm.
over the fact that I couldn't blend in the way I wanted to, which of course I couldn't, but I really wanted to just, I guess, blend in as like a Korean person. But after I actually made a lot of friends who were in the same situation, like they're also either adopted or overseas Korean, so we kind of could share that experience. And I think actually that my first time in Korea was probably my most fun one because everything was new and exciting.
Yeah.
And
What was
yeah,
the most fun part?
Probably, well, the nightlife was definitely one of them. And just, I guess, being in the country that I was...
Everybody looks the same
yeah,
with you.
that I was born in, and going on the subway and everyone it looks like me. It was something I had obviously never experienced before. So that was really fascinating, and it was a fun
Have you
time.
been to Namsan or Gyeongbokgung or other Korean traditional
Yeah,
places?
yes. I have been to Gyeongbokgung and like Namsan Tower and Insadong.
And did you have any opportunity to wear hanbok or to get more traditional Korean?
I actually
Stuff?
never did that. I think I was, especially the first time I came here, I didn't really want to do typical touristy things. I just wanted to do like daily life things probably because I wanted to get, I guess, the real like Korean experience. I
Yeah.
didn't really want to
Do what the foreigners do in Korea?
yeah, which was maybe kind of silly, but it was what I wanted to do then.
And now you're working in PS Core.
Yes.
So when did you get interested in North Korean human rights?
So my major is actually Korean studies.
Mm-hmm.
I took a course back in Sweden called North Korean Culture
Oh,
because one of my professors is like a North Korean expert and has
really?
yes, and has actually lived there. So she's very knowledgeable. When I took that course, I had chance to dive deeper into North Korean issues, and yeah, I think also I've always been aware of the fact
That
that
issue.
yeah, or because I studied Korean studies, I had to also learn about North Korea.
Right.
And also I took some courses on history and politics between North and South Korea and stuff like that. So yeah, I think it was from my studies.
So you got to know PS Core, and what team are you in?
I'm in research team.
Research
Yeah.
team again? Okay, so what do you do in here?
Well, I work on the reports about internet freedom, and I also in the model UNSF PS Core team. So we are organizing next year's model UNSF conference and recruiting team members, planning for that conference, which will be beginning of next year.
Okay. So as you're learning about more and more about Korea, Korean culture, and the history, and also North Korean human rights, what's the most interesting thing to you personally?
I think for South Korea, what fascinates me the most is it is so many different things at once. Like it is so like hyper technological, but also have a very conservative side as well. And it's has a lot of rich culture, I think. And
And it makes you compare with North Korea, right?
Yeah.
It's so different.
yeah, it's so different. Yeah, I think that is so much, so many different things all at once. And for North Korea, obviously, it's so isolated and so many unique or things that don't really exist anywhere else than in North Korea.
Actually, there are many North Korean defectors right now in South Korea and other countries. And I just thought that they do have a similar experiences with you. Like when you said you just came to Korea, you wanted to look one of them, but you really couldn't fit in because you didn't know the language and all the culture and stuff. Like the North Korean defectors do have the really similar experiences, and you've been first here, and there are still many North Korean defectors who are still coming and escaping from North Korea. Yeah, you could make a big help for them.
Yeah, I haven't thought about that, but I see, that there is some similarities.
Do you have any memorable experiences here in PS Core?
I think as of right now is probably when I first met a North Korean defector, because I had a chance to listen to some interviews since I know Korean.
And English as well.
Yeah. So I had the opportunity to sit in on some interviews. Actually, I think the first week I actually got to do that. So that was very memorable. And also to hear that their experience are not always the same. Even if they're all defectors, they have different stories and different experiences. So that's probably the most memorable. And we also did we went to the DMC, the whole office, and that was also memorable to actually be at the place where you're able to see North Korea and it feels very close. I guess because sometimes just doing research and
Yeah, being in front of the computer, that's not all.
yeah, you feel that you're not really doing anything or that you're very far away from the place and the people that you're actually reading and writing about.
So it's like the closest and the farthest.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. So what are your long-term goals? What are you thinking about your future?
I think I would like to work with something about both Sweden and Korea since, well, my major is Korean studies and I kind of want to do something that
Contacts, like
both,
Sweden and Korea?
that kind of links them. I guess because I also feel like I could contribute something because I feel like I'm a product of both Sweden and Korea. So that's what I would like to do. I'm very open to what that would be, but just something that kind of connects both of the countries.
So like right now you go to university, right?
Yes.
Stockholm
Yeah,
University,
Stockholm University.
right? Yeah, and studying Korean.
Yeah, so I'm in my third semester of my master's program, and it's Asian studies, but my focus is
Korean
Korea. Yeah.
studies. Okay. How long are you gonna be in Korea right now?
I'm gonna be here until middle of January, so that's when this school semester ends, and then I have to go back to Sweden.
Okay. And are your parents proud about what you're studying and your interests?
Yeah, I think so. It's very different from what they're doing, and I think it's very different from what any in my family
Because
are
your
doing.
parents really don't know about the Korean culture too, right?
Yeah, no,
Maybe you can make them more interested.
yeah, and I think they have as well. Like when I lived here for the first time, they came and visited me.
Oh.
So I think they definitely become more interested because of me. But I think they're definitely proud that I'm here and that I decided to pursue this direction.
Okay.
Yeah, because they also know that I did it. A lot of the reason why I did it was because of my background. So
Okay.
yeah.
Actually, I want to ask you about, as you have the similar experiences, I think you can say something to the North Korean defectors who are having a hard time to fit in Korea. So maybe you can just say something encouraging to them.
Yeah. Obviously, my situation is very different, but maybe we have some similar feelings about being here and feeling
like if they
like
try to live in Korea.
Yeah, I think for me I learned that I shouldn't really care that much about what other people think about me or my identity. And if you feel that you are Korean, maybe you're not Korean in the way that people think, but the only thing that matters is your own feelings and your own experience. So for me, that was an important step in being more comfortable about my identity as a Korean person, yeah.
Do you want to say something, maybe a word to those who have the similar situation with you, like the adoptees?
Yeah, I think it's important to talk to other adoptees. For me, it was very important to kind of find my support system. And I think that was one of the reasons why my first experience in Korea was so good, because I had a good support system and I could talk to people who had the same experience, and we could share things that really only other adoptees can like truly understand. I'm very involved in the community for adoptees, Korean adoptees in Sweden, and I know there's a lot. It's a pretty huge community, like in any country, that has a lot of adoptees, even in Korea, for adoptees that decide to move back. There's a huge community. So I think being involved, if you want to, but I think it definitely helps. And there are a lot of things we learn from each other and support each other and help each other. So that's important. Yeah.
Okay. That could be a big thing to others who are really suffering about that.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, that was all for me. And I'm happy that you're just having your time in Korea and you're also doing something for the North Korean human rights. And it's very thankful. So, how was the interview? That's all for me.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. It was really fun, I think, and I'm happy I could talk a bit about my experience. Maybe someone will relate. And I also think it's important to talk about, I guess, these kind of issues because there are a lot of adoptees, Korean adoptees, who come to Korea, either move back or just visit. And I think it's important to bring up some awareness about that subject. So.
Okay, so if it's okay, can you talk in Korean to our viewers? Like, because our viewers, they're mostly in 40s, 50s, like they're mostly our parents' age. So can you say something to them? Maybe 얼마나 열심히 살고 있는지? 아니면 응원해 주세요. I know it's hard,
yeah.
but try. Come on.
네, 이 인터뷰를 봐주셔서 감사합니다. 네.
잘 부탁드립니다.
네,
Maybe.
잘 부탁드립니다.
Okay.
Here is one more thing to ask. Would you leave the message toward the North Korean human right in Swedish?
About the...
North Korean human right.
Jag tror det är viktigt att inte bara se nordkoreaner som offer utan också som människor som har sin vardag i Nordkorea, hur otrolig den kan tyckas vara för oss och inte bara tänka att de blir hjärntvättade och manipulerade och såklart så är det viktigt att göra någonting för att hjälpa deras situation. Men jag tror det är viktigast att lyssna på deras berättelser och faktiskt försöka ta in hur deras liv ser ut. Inte bara tycka synd om dem utan se dem som människor. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So can you tell us what you said?
I said that I think the most important thing is to listen to their stories and not just I think there's kind of an attitude in Sweden that you just see them as victims and they're brainwashed, manipulated. But I think it's important that you realize they're actual human beings and there's a daily life in North Korea as well, even if it seems like,
unusual.
Yeah, unusual. It's their life and not just look at the headliners about North Korea, but also try to actually take in their stories and not just make fun of Kim Jong-un.
Kim Jong-un.
Yeah,
Okay.
but actually realize that North Koreans are just people as everyone
And they
else.
are suffering. Okay, yeah, that's right. Okay, so that was all for the interview. And thank you for talking about your life. And maybe it was a hard journey for you. And yeah, because I've never been there. So I was really worried and asking about things about that. And it was really good because you talked very comfortably. I really want to encourage you, your other journey in the future. Yeah, so
Thank you.
thank you for all the interview.
Yes,
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
네, 시청자 여러분, 지금까지 성통만사 인턴 클라라 다빈 양과 함께한 인터뷰였습니다. 많은 응원 부탁드립니다. 감사합니다.
감사합니다.
You can say that louder. Come on. 감사합니다.
감사합니다.
감사합니다.